And welcome, everybody, to the Tuesday episode of the Just Parlay Show here at the Max Wagers Network. I'm your co-host, Scott Reichel, and joining me, since this is a parlay show, of course, is parlay expert Chris King. Chris, how's it going with you? How's your Monday?
It wasn't too bad. I mean, the one bad thing was we saw the Nationals backdoor the total yesterday. It kind of messed things up. But other than that, everything went pretty much according to plan, except for Rengifo hitting that homer in the first inning for the Angels.
No runs the rest of the game.
Yeah, so kudos if you listened to me when I said, he probably won't homer at plus 700. But yeah, a lot of low-scoring games in the late window last night. That was 1-0. San Francisco, San Diego was 1-0. Arizona, Pittsburgh was 1-0 until the eighth. So runs were at a premium last night.
Yeah, we did learn though that even Wrigley Wind could not save Anibal Sanchez. We did learn that yesterday. So
this is true. So if Wrigley Wind can't save you, you're probably beyond any help.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of any of the other games. The Yankees finally won. The late games were all low scoring except the Yankee game because the Yankees, that was my favorite total. I said yesterday I liked the over. Tyone actually pitched pretty well. Gilbert did not. Seems like the Yankees just fare well against them. But yeah, the Yankees picked up a win there. And besides that,
what did it end up? I turned it off and it was 7-2.
I believe it was 9-4 is where the game ended, I think. But Yankees won handily. I know Holmes gave up a meaningless run in the ninth. But the Cooch still pitching in Major League Baseball. Do you think he's got much time left?
I wouldn't think so. I mean, we talked about it yesterday. Someone brought up in the chat that, you could get him at over 1.5 walks at plus money. And he was over that total at 3 batters.
Yep.
He walked Rutschman and Santander back to back in the first. And it went downhill from there. On the plus side, hey, Santander homered. So
I was going to say he ended up walking 2. Then he gave up a 3-run homer in that first inning. And then he gave up a couple more home runs in the next couple innings, and then he got pulled. I get the idea of wanting to start a guy because you're paying him a decent amount of money, but he's not very good. And if Toronto's serious about making the playoffs, I don't know if it makes a lot of sense to keep starting a guy knowing you're going to hold them out of your actual playoff rotation or even just off the overall roster. There's no way Toronto can throw Kikuchi on the playoff roster, right?
I wouldn't think so. I mean, there's got to be somebody better out there. I mean, granted, they missed out on Castillo. They missed out on Montas. But still, I mean, you can't keep throwing that guy out there as poorly as he's pitched. And I know everybody's like, but come on, he was good in 2 starts after he came off the IL. That's 2 starts. Look at the rest of his schedule.
He's been terrible. But
yeah.
I mentioned because Toronto still has Pearson, who's probably going to come up for the 40-man. And you got a bunch of stuff going on. But the point is, I still believe that when it comes down to it, if you're going to keep giving a guy starts, but you have no interest in actually using him for playoff starts, wouldn't you rather invest the at least experience with a Pearson or a younger guy who you might actually be relying on? Because Kikuchi clearly is not going to make the roster. He's not good enough.
No, he's clearly gone downhill. You got Casey Lawrence down there in Buffalo. He's 8-4 with a 2.40 ERA. He would popped up a little bit earlier in the year.
Point is, you got options now. Starting a rookie in the playoffs isn't ideal, but at least you have some type of uncertainty. If you start Kikuchi, he's going to get shelled.
Yeah, I mean, I think what they're going to have to do now is stretch Pearson out. He's only made 4 appearances in AAA so far. They've all been in relief. But if they can get him stretched out where he can give you 4 or 5 innings, or, because that's all you're getting out of Kikuchi most of the time anyway. I'd rather have a guy that can give me a chance to win than a guy who's going to put me in a 3-4-0 hole in the first inning.
Yeah, and that's basically what we've seen from Kikuchi for the last month and change. But I was going to ask you about some of the other games from yesterday. Anything jump off the page to you? Seemed like with a pretty limited card, everything was kind of what we expected, with the one exception of San Diego not scoring a run in about, I don't even know, what is it, like 18 innings now, 20 innings now?
It's been an eternity.
Is it time to panic, or you still believe that it's a little bit early and once Tatis comes back, we're going to figure it out?
Well, I mean, they're going to have to figure it out. Like I said yesterday, my biggest concern with San Diego is will their pitching hold up against anybody? Because sure, Snell pitched okay yesterday, but he still doesn't go deep in games. Musgrove has tumbled off a cliff the last month or so after he went on the COVID list and then came off. Then he got smacked around by Philadelphia, and it's been all downhill. Clevenger, I still don't know what you're going to get with him. I did see. We were talking last week when Hader got traded. That they traded Lamet, and he was DFA'd.
Yep.
So maybe San Diego will get him back.
No, he signed with Colorado.
Oh, yeah, that's a great place to go to rehab your career. Hey, you're a pitcher. Why don't you go pitch at Coors Field?
I don't know, man. But all I know is the Rockies signed him, so he's going there. But it has not been good for San Diego. They've not scored in the last 2 games plus. It's 20-something innings. I forgot the exact number. Now, they're not going to miss the wild card or anything like that, so the playoffs are still, alive and well. They're 5.5 ahead of San Francisco, but of course they got a couple more games to play in the next couple days. Soto's numbers have been okay. I believe he's batting .300. His on-base percentage is absurd because he walks like 2-3 times a game. So he's putting up his numbers. I don't think Bell's really done anything, but we'll see them wake up at some point. San Diego's a team, though, that we said was overvalued because they immediately went to like 9-1, and they're still going to be a wild card team, and they were 9-1, which doesn't make any sense to me, but whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me either. And to your point, Bell's batting $158 with 1 RBI since coming over.
He's been rough. Soto's actually been okay. He hasn't had any home runs or anything like that, but I mean, if you're batting .300 with a bunch of walks, I think that's a pretty decent showing there.
Yeah, 5 walks and 1 strikeout for Soto so far. But Bell, he's got more walks than hits. Bell's drawn 4 walks. Yep. He's 3 for 19.
And Drury's been okay. He's had a couple of home runs. He had the grand slam. I think he had 1 home run that got robbed. But the point is, Drury's been okay. Soto's been okay. Bell's got to pick it up. That's kind of the main takeaway for the offense. But
and Hader has a win.
Hader's been pretty good. He pitched yesterday, pitched pretty well. They were down, but he pitched well. I'm trying to think of any other news here. You had the Big Ten, who were nearing deals with Fox, CBS, and NBC for broadcasting rights. It's a lot of money going into it. I believe, what is it, like $350 million, I think?
Yeah, something like that.
Which is just insane to me. But I guess my question, how do networks actually make money doing this? Like, are advertisements worth that much?
I mean, they can be. I mean, the biggest thing, and, if Steve was here, he'd be like, well, he's going to talk about wrestling. The biggest thing is that, you have to have a marketable product. And, college sports is a big thing. When TBS and TNT had WCW back in the 90s, they were drawing 4 and 5s for ratings, but nobody wanted to advertise because of the fact that they considered it lowbrow. So they weren't getting all the big sponsors. When you're rolling out schools like Ohio State and stuff like that, and Wisconsin and Penn State, these are, marquee brand names. So you're going to get the big advertisers are going to dump money in so they can be on TV because people are watching it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of any time immediately where advertising actually worked on me. And to be honest, every time I see an ad, it has like a reverse effect where I immediately like somewhat hate the company because I just want to get back to the sporting event. Does that make sense?
So what you weren't alive when they were doing all the old commercials for, beer commercials where you'd watch football and they'd be like that, some guy was out in his yard and, he was digging or mowing his lawn and all of a sudden he ran across gold and things got a little better.
I'm just saying, I'm assuming
the Swedish bikini team comes on and things got a lot better because they brought cheap beer.
You mentioned beer, so I'm just going to use that as an example. Everybody watching this show, I guarantee you have a favorite game day beer. Doesn't matter what commercial.
I don't drink.
I was going to say, it doesn't matter what commercial you see, doesn't matter what you're doing. You know that if you like beer X, you're going to get beer X. And it's the same thing with chips. It's like, oh, here's a commercial for like, I'm not going to say names here, but here's a commercial for this. And it's like,
for Y chips.
Yeah, for Y chips. And it's just like, no, I already know I'm getting this. I've gotten these chips for 20 years. Like, I don't know if advertisements really work on as many people as people think, because if you need something, you're going to buy it. If you don't, I'm not exactly a luxury good guy. Is that just me, or that's kind of how I look at it?
No, I think you're right. I mean, and Steen said that sports are a loss leader for networks because they draw all the eyes in so then they can plug their other shows too. Like, doesn't mean you're necessarily going to go watch, CSI Boise or something like that just because you're watching something else.
Nothing like watching college basketball and then plugging in an 8 p.m. special for Three's Company. Like, I don't think that's going to involve people showing up for Three's Company. Like, I don't think that's the point. But okay, sure.
I still, when I watched the replay of the Hale Flutie game at the end, and you've got Brent Musburger talking about what's going to be coming up later tonight on Friday, and don't forget to tune in for Dallas and Falcon Crest.
It's also different back then because you had less choices. They didn't have Netflix. They didn't have random things. So you basically were stuck on 3 or 4 channels and you were going to watch some of it. But nowadays with streaming services and everything, I don't know why anybody watching a sporting event would say, you know what, I want to stick around for that police drama they have airing in 2 hours. Like, I don't see the connection. Like, I'm just missing it, but whatever.
Well, because maybe they think, if their spouse or their girlfriend or whatever walks through and sees something about some show, maybe they'll be like, yeah, we're going to watch that. And then you're screwed because, there's only one remote.
I guess, but I'm assuming that they probably knew it was on in the first place.
Well, that's possible too. But if it's like,
I get what you're trying to say.
Movie of the week,
Yeah, I get what you're trying to say. I just think that it's a monumental waste of money for these actual, I'd say, stations to air sporting events. I get you're taking attention away. You want to plug stuff, and you can potentially upcharge the advertisers. But I don't really get it, to be honest. I would never pay $380 million to broadcast Big Ten games. That's all I'm saying. So,
what would you pay $380 million for?
It's a great question. Not much. Not much right now, I'll tell you that. But yeah, I mean, if you want to pay that much money to see Wisconsin, Iowa 6-0 at halftime, good luck to you. That's all I'm saying.
I thought you were going to say 6-0 after 3 quarters.
It could be. It might be after 3 quarters. It just also was at halftime. You had 0 points in the third quarter.
That's true.
But yeah, I'm trying to think. There really was pretty quiet in sports yesterday. I mean, the media deal was one of the bigger things, but they were going to get paid from somebody, so that really wasn't that surprising. I saw the Jets had Mekhi Becton, whose career basically might be over. He had another knee issue.
Are you concerned about that at all? I mean, I know that they said Becton had gotten up to close to 400 pounds.
I was going to say, am I concerned? He might retire. Like his career might actually be over. You mentioned the fact that he was dealing with some overweight issues early in preseason. Now he has a knee issue. It's not a good combo.
And he had one last year too, didn't he?
That's what I'm saying. I think he might end up retiring. It's a really sad story because Becton, people will call him a bust because he barely played. When he did, he was actually really good. He just couldn't stay healthy, which is unfortunate. Besides that, though, I mean, there's nothing to say. It's sad. Chris Sale's out for the rest of the year. He's getting wrist surgery.
Yeah, fell off his bike.
He got hit by a line drive by Aaron Hicks, I think. But point is,
he actually broke his wrist in a bike accident last week.
Oh, really? Okay, so
yeah.
I know he initially. Oh, that was right. That was the pinky.
That broke his pinky. There. So now he broke his wrist in a bike accident. So
either way, Red Sox are 2 games under. They're not going to do anything. So there you go.
And Roquan Smith wants a trade.
Yeah, because trade requests always work in the NFL.
Yeah, that's Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, they never work in the NFL. But I would request a trade anyway because the Bears are going to be terrible. So if you want to get on a team that might win, I can understand it. But you have any takeaways there, or we just know the Bears are rebuilding and they're going to have to blow the entire team up?
Yeah, they're rebuilding for sure. But, I mean, can they afford to trade away a guy like Smith who's, he's 25? He's the anchor on that defense. What are you going to replace him with?
Somebody you might draft in the first round with a top 3 pick. I don't know. I mean, the team's going to be terrible. I mean, I'm trying to think of. I was actually looking at some player props, and they had props on Justin Fields for passing yards and passing touchdowns and whatever. I like the under on principle because I'm assuming he's going to get his head taken off. I mean, I don't think he's going to make it the entire year. They're going to get him killed.
Yeah, I mean, even if they don't get him killed, who's he going to throw to besides Darnell Mooney?
Can't throw to anybody. Mooney actually. I saw that N'Keal Harry had a season-ending injury the other day, even though he wasn't very good to begin with, but still.
Yeah, that's the Belichick curse. You know, you're a receiver in their system, then you try to go somewhere else, and then you get hurt, and your career's over. I
Pretty
mean,
much. But I mean, the Bears don't have an offensive line. Montgomery's a decent running back, but if you can't block for him, then you're basically an older version of Najee Harris last year. And you have Justin Fields, who might be overrated, might not be, but I can guarantee you one thing: he has not been put in a single situation to succeed.
no, not
So,
at all, not at all.
so I'm not saying that like Darnold would have figured it out. I'm not saying that a couple of these other quarterbacks would have figured it out. But when you give them no support system, they're, I'd say, 5 times more likely to bust. And Fields is on his way to being a bust because he has no help. I mean,
And now,
that's how I'm looking at it.
speaking of Sam Darnold, you know, he's in a quarterback battle with Baker Mayfield in the battle of sucky quarterbacks drafted in the top 3 picks in 2018.
But I'm sure it's all based on confidence. And I can't blame Darnold for being awful on the Jets because they tried to get him killed for 3 years straight. I mean, they couldn't protect him. They had no weapons. They got killed every game. Like, I don't know how is Darnold supposed to succeed with the Jets, and how was Justin Fields, or how is Justin Fields supposed to succeed with this roster? Like, he's going to be bad. There's no way around it. The team is awful.
So, in 2 or 3 years, are we going to say the same thing about Zach Wilson? The Jets got him or left him out there to get killed for 3 years, and
I think it's different because Wilson is first year. You can make that case because last year they were really bad. But if you look at what they've done during the offseason, I know Becton just got hurt, but that's just unfortunate. You look at the overall moves they made, you look at seems like just the difference in morale based on what Salah has been doing. It seems like the Jets are actually trying, keyword trying, to build something. Darnold was just stuck in tanking purgatory. Like, at least they have some direction now. They didn't even have that with Darnold, so that's progress, you know?
now are you concerned about the fact that, and you know the Jets better than I do since I'm not a Jets fan, are you concerned about Corey Davis and Rondale, or not Rondale Moore, but Elijah Moore and those guys staying healthy?
I think no. It seems, according to early depth charts, you're looking at Davis being more of a 2 or a 3. According to earlier reports, it seems like Elijah Moore is just blowing everybody out for wide receiver 1. And Moore was incredible last year in small doses. He was late to the party because he was injured. Then he showed up, and he was amazing, especially on that bad offense. He was really, really good. And then you look at Garrett Wilson, who they drafted. Apparently has been very good in camp as well. I know Hall is starting preseason as the 3rd-string running back, but, I mean, truth is the running backs are pretty expendable nowadays anyway.
The Jets have 2 other running backs?
I could think of one.
I was thinking of Michael Carter. Who's the other guy?
That's a good question.
Are they getting Matt Snell out of retirement?
I don't think Piron's still there. But the point is,
Freeman McNeil?
I'm not really concerned about the running backs. Plus, it's in preseason, you're going to shift around the entire depth chart anyway. So
True.
I think Hall's going to, worst case scenario, be in some type of committee with Carter. But it's running backs, so you can kind of throw them in and out. But it seems like the receiving core for the Jets is actually pretty solid. I'll tell you what, there's a lot worse receiving cores out there than Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, and Corey Davis. I'll throw that out there. Can we agree on
Look
that?
at the Bears.
That's what I'm saying. The Bears are a good example of that, but the Jets receiving core, not totally terrible. I actually think it's pretty decent. And they got Uzama for tight end. It's not bad.
Tom saying the Jets will finish better than the Patriots.
That
seemed like a bold call.
I was gonna say it's a bold call based on win expectancy and the overall just win props for the over/under. I don't think New England's making the playoffs. I think New England's a bad football team, and I'm gonna say it, and it's gonna make people up in arms because Belichick's Belichick, and they automatically give him 10 wins. What did they do this offseason to make the team better at all? They got rid of a couple of pieces. I know the defense is still good. I don't think Mac Jones is very good. I'm going to say it. I think he's a mediocre game manager. And I'm looking at just the overall roster. They really don't wow you in like any positions besides their defensive line's pretty good. They lost their leading interception getter from a year or two ago, so the secondary is not going to be as good. I don't think New England's a good team. Like, I
Yeah,
think
they
New
lost
England.
a couple offensive linemen too because
What are they good at?
Mason's gone and Karras is gone. They can run the ball. I'll give them that. I mean, I watched them run it repeatedly in
Yeah,
the windstorm at Highmark Stadium back in.
Mac Jones threw one pass in that game.
Yeah, and
But
it wasn't a good looking pass either.
no,
Um, but other than running the ball, I mean, sure they got Devontae Parker as a receiver.
for 4 weeks he gets injured every year.
Well, that too. But like you said, they've got some decent defense. But I mean, come on, you signed Malcolm Butler to come back. What is this? 7 years ago.
And you benched him in the Super Bowl about 5 years ago. Now you want him back. Like I don't really get what they did the entire offseason besides get rid of a couple of key pieces. But
And didn't McCourty retire?
yeah,
Or that's the other McCourty.
Either or. It would be kind of cool if the McCourtys retired together. But you look at how Belichick's drafted the last couple of years. He's actually been a terrible drafter, especially early in drafts, like first round, second round. It has not gone well for New England.
Yeah, drafting Cole Strange from Chattanooga in the first round.
They reached on an alleged third-round offensive lineman in the first round. But I'm looking at New England's team, and people automatically assume they'll win 9 games. They're, Belichick and company, but the Jets got better. I'm not saying that they're going to lose a game to the Jets, but the Jets got better. Miami got better, and New England struggled with Miami last year anyway. And you could argue Buffalo's the best team in the league. So you have a tough division, and your team really can only win one way. Your defense needs to play well. You're not going to trust Mac Jones to win if he has to score more than 28 points. I think New England's going to go like 7-10. I really don't think New England's going to be very good.
Yeah, you look at their schedule outside of playing, the division, of course. You've got the AFC North, so you've got to deal with the Bengals and the Ravens, and we know Baltimore's going to try and run the ball down everybody's throats.
They're going to be dogs in a decent amount of those games.
Yeah, they've got to play Green Bay because they play the. So you got them. You've got what else have you got in here? They've got to play Arizona, and that'll be in December. So that by then DeAndre Hopkins will be back and not sitting on the sideline.
Is that a home game or a road
game?
It's
in Arizona.
Okay, so that means Arizona's offense might actually still work because if it was in December, they might as well just go home.
Right. But they don't play Buffalo until December, and then they play them in the finale in early January in Orchard Park. And if there's one place Bill Belichick doesn't want to go, it's probably there.
After the playoff game, especially.
Yeah, after getting obliterated in that game where you couldn't even make them punt.
You mentioned the out-of-conference games. I mentioned the out-of-division games. I mentioned the division games. Mac Jones' numbers were pretty good last year, but if you just watch him play, he doesn't pass the eye test whatsoever. And I'm still not sure if he can actually create something out of nothing. He might just be a one read, 2 read type of quarterback, which exists. That's not a full roast of him. I don't think he's a generational talent. Nobody does. I think he's a pretty decent first quarterback option. He kind of reminds me of a Garoppolo. He's your quarterback. You're like, all right, there are worse options, but you don't exactly feel great about it. That's kind of how I feel about Mac Jones. But I'm looking at the schedule. I'm looking at the roster. If they go 7-10, I would really not be surprised, but I do like their win total under.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what they did last year, everybody's going to say they were 6th in the league in scoring at 27 points a game. But if you look, they scored 54 against the Jets.
Yep.
They scored 45 against Cleveland, and they put 50 up against Jacksonville. I mean, you're talking 149 points in 3 games.
And was that the Cleveland COVID? Was that one of the Cleveland COVID games?
Let me look at the box score.
I don't remember. Cleveland
it was in mid-November, so
okay.
I know Cleveland was kind of gutted.
Yeah. Either way, point is there's a couple outliers there with New England, and if you watch them in the final couple games, I mean, we saw them basically get shut out for 2.5 quarters against Indianapolis on Saturday Night Football.
Yeah,
I think it was Saturday night. But at the end, when New England needed some games to potentially win the division, they just couldn't do much offensively. I think that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, they couldn't stop Buffalo in Foxborough. Then they beat Jacksonville. Then they lost to Miami on the road, and that ended up putting them having to go back to Orchard Park, which at the time I wasn't really thrilled about. I was hoping that that Raiders-Chargers game was going to end up funny, so they'd both make the playoffs. Because I didn't want to play the Colts, but I didn't want to deal with New England again. But as it turned out, New England was obliterated.
Yeah, we're going to go through some divisions in the next couple weeks, but both of us, whether we're biased or not, because I'm a Jets fan, you're a Bills fan, I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible. I really don't think that New England's a good football team.
I would agree with that.
So that's kind of how I'm going to look at it. But I think it's time to move on to the actual MLB card for today. Chris, I'll let you do your thing. What's the first game you like?
How about we talk about the Blue Jays and the Orioles? We talked about this game yesterday. We told you to take Baltimore yesterday because Kikuchi was pitching, and I saw Crystal was saying that they need to get rid of Kikuchi because he sucks.
I said the team total over, any over, it all cashed yesterday. So.
Yeah, she said Kikuchi's got to go. He has to go to the minors and work his shit out. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. Steen says they won't do it because he's making 8 figures.
I'm just imagining Major League 2. Can they trade him to Japan? Get an outfielder or something? You know?
Yeah, not those Giants.
Springer's on the IL. You might need somebody from the Giants.
Yep, Lex Steele saying the Blue Jays on the run line today. I'm all about it. I don't trust Kyle Bradish. Do you?
No. Should I?
Not that I'm aware of. He's facing Manoah. You know, Manoah had a rough stretch in June. He's won 3 of his last 4 starts, though. He's still got an ERA of under 2.5. His WHIP is under 1. His strikeout to walk ratio is about 4-1.
I mean, I really like him. Obviously, he's been great this year, but even last year, he's a solid pitcher.
Yep. And Bradish, you know, he had that one game where he struck out 11 Cardinals and got the win. Even with that, his ERA is still 6.5.
Yeah, it's not good.
I don't have any faith in I know Baltimore could be able to ding Manoah a little bit, but Bradish made 1 start against Toronto earlier this year back in June. He gave up 5 runs in 4+ innings. You could probably play the over here. You could probably play the Blue Jays team total here. I don't know. I didn't look to see what it was.
Well, Baltimore's been cooking at home, so I am kind of curious if you think this game's going to be more low scoring or if you think that Toronto just kills Bradish, but Baltimore gets a couple runs in. So I'm leaning towards the latter.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards they're going to kill Bradish, and I think that, you know, like I said, Manoah could get dinged up. He got dinged up in his 1 career start at Oriole Park at Camden Yards.
Yeah.
But I just think that, you know, Bradish is not good. I'm just looking to see what the
I mean, blindly, I'm thinking take Vlad Jr. bases. He's hit, what, 19 straight games?
Yeah, he's right around even money on that, I think.
That's not bad because Bradish is bad, and we know that Vlad's been cooking. But if you want to go based on just overall season trends and you want to back Baltimore in some capacity, just take Mountcastle the homer.
Yeah, or even Santander, because Santander homered yesterday.
Yeah, but Mountcastle has destroyed Toronto pretty much his entire career. He's owned that team, so just keep that in mind.
Team total for Toronto over 4.5 is -115.
Sure. Yeah.
And then over 5.5 is +135.
9 guaranteed at bats with Bradish pitching. It's a good time. If you're afraid of the Baltimore bullpen, take the first 5 team total over. But we expect Bradish to struggle.
Oh yeah, badly.
Yep.
Now, of course, they hope all the Cardinals start out, but I'm not betting on it. I just don't have a. Oh, there you go. JR said he's thanking you for the four parlay yesterday with Baltimore, the Wings, the Yankees over, and the Diamondbacks. I think we mixed all those together. We're talking about them yesterday.
Yeah, we merged them. I said my favorite total from yesterday was the Yankees over, and that got there pretty easily. And
yeah, they were over by what? Was it over by like the 3rd or 4th inning?
It felt that way. I want to say it was like 6-2 in the 5th inning, and I think that was basically over. The Wings were my play of the day, which was nice. They got there. But, yeah.
Higher scoring game than I thought it was going to be, too. That Wings game.
It was. The Liberty were doing pretty well offensively, but the Liberty defensively were missing their best defensive player. So the Wings scored 86.
Yeah, I didn't think they were going to push it over the number, though. I thought it was going to stay under.
It was close. I mean, it went over by like 2-3 points, but it got there.
Ryan wants to know, is Blaney going to miss the playoffs?
I know that he's a big Blaney fan. The Harvick win this past weekend is
makes it a lot
for Blaney.
For a lot of guys.
It's brutal for Blaney. It's what, Blaney and Truex were fighting?
Yeah, exactly. I think Truex slipped out.
It's a shame we didn't have the NASCAR show because I easily would have taken Harvick this past week just because of how Ford has dominated Michigan for the last 6 years. I would have had Harvick as my mid shot in there, but I'm happy for him. Is Blaney going to miss the playoffs? I get that you've been rooting for him, and he had a pretty solid run there for maybe a month. It just hasn't clicked.
Sadly, he's second in points.
Yeah, I know. Blaney's been very solid when it comes to the first couple of stages, but it seems like stage 3, his car just starts to look worse than the other cars. I don't know what it is, but it seems like stage 3 has been his kryptonite all season long. That's why he hasn't won anything. But there you go.
Yeah, Elliott's in first, and then Blaney's in second, but it's a distant second, and then it goes from there. Truex is fourth among drivers in points, but like you said, those guys don't have wins, and you've got all these other guys. Elliott, Chastain, and Logano, and Byron, and Reddick, and Hamlin all have multiple wins, and then Larson, Bell, Busch, Harvick, Bowman, Suarez, Briscoe, Cindric, and the other Busch all have a win. So running out of places.
Yeah, it's going to be a battle for sure. Truex has been hanging in there in his non-retirement tour. He's been hanging in there. He'll be back next year. I don't know. The thing is, I'm curious what Blaney's approach is going to be moving forward, because if any non-winners actually win, then Blaney's fully screwed.
Right.
So I'm assuming him and Truex go full pedal to the metal. Just checker wrecker at this point.
You pretty much have to. Better get Brad K to wipe out all the non-winners.
Or you try to wipe out Corey LaJoy if he's in first place. I don't know what you do. You're going to have to figure something out. But it's been a successful but painful season for Blaney, because in points he's good, but when you're in a win first type of league, which it should be, by the way, I like the new formatting where wins actually matter, then you got a lot to do.
It's true. All right, we'll move on now to how about the Dodgers and the Twins? And Scott, don't pay attention to the records. They didn't update when I saved it. But let's face it, the Twins are a team that should have run away with the AL Central by now. Instead, they find themselves, a game up on Cleveland. They're 2 up on the White Sox. Their pitching staff has been a train wreck since the beginning of July. I saw a number that said their collective team ERA from the starting rotation was about 50. Now, take note, I'm exaggerating a little bit there, but since July 1st, I think their earned run average as a pitching staff with the starting rotation is, hold on, I've got it right here. 6.09 is the starting rotation's ERA for the Twins since July 1st.
Okay. So their entire rotation turned into Bradish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Joe Ryan's the best of that group. His ERA since July 1st, 4.55.
And Ryan's not good. He's just serviceable. That's how I describe him. But Orioles is undefeated in his last 8 starts, whatever the hell it is at this point?
Yeah. I think it's 9 starts. He's 8-0 in that stretch. And he's pitched really well. I'm not saying the Twins aren't going to get to him.
I got to go with the Dodgers. Run line, really anything. You just destroyed your biggest division rival at home handily in every game. You shut him out in the last game. The offense has been better. They're undefeated with Gallo, even though Gallo's done absolutely nothing. But Bellinger woke up. He had 2 home runs in that Sunday game. Yep. So Freeman's been good. Betts has been good. Muncy's been better lately.
They got Chris Taylor back now.
Well, Taylor's been a disaster, so I purposefully.
But at least he's back. So
I was going to say I still like Taylor because he's a good playoff player. He's been so bad this year. I didn't even mention him, but Will Smith's been good. I just like the Dodgers. They're cooking on really every single cylinder right now. Even the bullpen has not been a total gas can lately. When you're up by a bunch of runs, Kimbrel doesn't have to pitch, so that's kind of a separate whatever.
But then they do bring him in, and he gives up runs anyway.
That's what I'm saying. So minus 103 on the run line. I gotta like the Dodgers at home with Orioles on the mound. I think they'll win handily tonight.
And Chris, don't get mad if somebody's hitting only 28%. Well, the fun thing about parlays is you don't have to hit 75% to end up making money.
Yeah, if you actually do the math on that, and you assume each parlay is at least 2 to 1, 28% is really not that bad, because you have to hit 53% on minus 110. So if you want to do the math on that, 28% is actually not that bad if every parlay is going to be like plus 200.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that we hit 70% or 60% on these because you're playing more than one game at a time. When you play 2, 3, 4, it happens.
And percentage is really the worst way you could go about analyzing parlays because you're not supposed to hit parlays. Like it's significantly more difficult to hit parlays than straight bets because you obviously need multiple straight bets to hit in order to cash one parlay. So the percentage I wouldn't follow. I'd care more about the ROI.
Oh, and straight plays, I don't know about people hitting 28% on straight plays because
It wasn't me.
tend to
I'll
do
tell you
it.
that much.
Yeah, I don't tend to do a ton of straight plays. I know that on the premium side, on my straight plays, my best bet, I've hit 17 of my last 23. So
Nice.
um,
You got to plug that stuff more. You got to let the people know.
well, that's normally what Steen did when he was here because he was the one that did all that crap. So
But he has access. He has access to all that stuff. I'm just here. You got to plug it in.
At least you have buttons. I don't even have the buttons to punch any or to start a show or anything. They've been talking about doing that, giving me that stuff for like 9 months.
Yeah. All I know is that gambling obviously comes in streaks. If
True.
you have not had a bad week gambling, you haven't gambled long enough. That's kind of my takeaway from that. Everyone who actually bets knows you're going to have some good times and bad times. It's the point of how well you handle the bad times, which usually determines the bottom line for the course of the overall season. But yeah, all I know is I've been doing straight bets for pretty much my play that day for like 5 years. It's gone pretty well, so I can't really complain. I know that you're mentioning the name in the comment section. I'm not going to bother. There's bad runs in there and good runs, and
yeah, I admittedly don't keep track of anybody else's numbers, so I didn't know that's what they were.
To be honest, I don't get paid enough to keep track of other people's numbers, so I just don't do it. But
yeah, I have a hard enough time keeping track of my own when people ask me about what your record or what my record is on doing these things, and it's like, dude, I put like 18 picks or 20 picks a day on the show, plus all the other stuff. I barely keep my eyes open long enough to look at them afterwards.
I just do my free picks and that's it. So I don't really focus on anybody else. I focus just right on how I'm doing.
I do get what you're saying.
Yeah, I get it. I can't really comment on it because I haven't been following it because it's not my job to follow it, if I'm being honest with you. But yeah, I'm sure he'll turn it around. I know he's a good handicapper.
Brian says the Dodgers on the straight up and on the run line. I have to, and like we just said, you gotta back the Dodgers right now.
Yeah, I agree.
We can move on to the fun part of the show, which is two for the money, and we'll start with the Blue Jays. Just talked about them. We got the Braves and the Red Sox. It's got Charlie Morton going against Rich Hill in the battle of the old dudes on the mound. Do you have any faith in Rich Hill at this point?
Any faith? That's a good question. I'm going to say no. I'm not even going to blame Rich Hill because I think he's actually been okay this year. Like, he hasn't been good, but I mean, you look up his birth certificate and he was born in the 1800s and he's still in the majors, So
I think he was pitching when old Hoss Radbourne was pitching.
He's at the point of his career where he just reminds me of Jamie Moyer, where if any pitch reaches like 85 on the speedometer, you give him a round of applause. But he has not been very good. It's mostly just fading the Red Sox. It's even, regardless of who was on the mound for Boston, would you really take Boston? Like, Atlanta got embarrassed against the Mets, but the Mets are still a good team. You had, to deal with DeGrom and Scherzer and whatever, but Atlanta is still solid. I'm not going to say they're a bad team. What has Boston done? They're in the last place in the league. In the division, they bought, or I don't know what the hell they did at the deadline, and they lost a series to Kansas City.
Yeah.
Like, why would I pick them to be competitive?
And gave up a ton of runs to the Royals too.
A ton of runs.
Like, I mean, I was looking at that like, what the hell is this?
And Morton's been okay this year. I think he's been better than Hill. So yeah.
Oh yeah, Morton's been screwed out of a couple of wins because the bullpen will come in and friggin' blow it.
Yeah, so I like Atlanta in this one. You mentioned Rich Hill, which helps, but Boston's a team that I'd probably fade moving forward anyway, because they really have not looked like they've really cared for the last couple of weeks. They've kind of kicked it on autopilot, don't you think?
Oh yeah, and to your point about Morton, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 quality starts where he ended up with a no decision.
Yep.
Including 3, 4 starts where he gave up no runs.
Yeah, so maybe if you want to take Boston first 5 and take the Morton no decision angle, you can. But I'm going to go with Atlanta because they're the much better team.
Then we got the Cardinals and the Rockies. It's Miles Mikolas against Ryan Feltner. Don't think we have to say anything more than Ryan Feltner.
Cardinals won 7 in a row?
Yeah, I think it's 7 in a row, 9 out of 10. They've moved past Milwaukee, who we've talked about has faded and made a bunch of deals that don't necessarily make a lot of sense for now.
They lost a series to the Reds at home.
Yeah, they're trying to keep the window open long term, supposedly. Just because you crack a window open doesn't mean that it's open.
They're trying to be competitive for a while, yet they trade their closer and they have a roster spot for Andrew McCutchen. It's like, all right, like cool, I guess. Like I don't know what we're doing.
And we talk about how bad Milwaukee's been hitting this season, and you're looking at Yelich, and you're looking at.
We said it. Their best hitter this season has arguably been Adames, who's batting like 220 with a decent amount of home runs, or like Rowdy Tellez.
Yeah, who's got that 803 OPS.
That's what I'm saying. If you want to go for division odds, by the way, I saw the Cardinals were basically minus 145. It was minus 200 in some spots, but I found 145. Would you lay it with the Cardinals?
At this point, probably. I mean, like you said, St. Louis has got a favorable schedule down the stretch. And you look at Milwaukee and...
I believe the Cardinals have the easiest schedule remaining in baseball.
Yeah, I'm just going to take a look at who they've got left.
The next couple of weeks for the Cardinals, though, it's like Rockies, Cubs, Pirates, Brewers.
Well, they do face the Brewers over the weekend at Busch Stadium.
Yeah, so
but
they're at home for that one.
It's sandwiched by six games with the Rockies.
It's Rockies like twice, Pirates. Now they play the Cubs a decent amount in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, they've got Arizona after the Rockies again next week. They've got 3 at Arizona, 5 with the Cubs at Wrigley. Then they get the Braves at home for 3. Then they get the Reds on the road for 3. And they start September with 3 more against the Cubs and 4 against the Nationals, followed by 3 at Pittsburgh.
But the point is the 2 tough series that we said against Milwaukee and Atlanta, they're at home.
Right. I think if Milwaukee's going to make a move, it's going to have to come late in September because from the 20th to the 28th, you see St. Louis goes to San Diego, they go to Los Angeles, and then they play 2 against the Brewers.
Like
before closing their season with the damnedest of schedules. They play 6 straight against the Pirates, 3 at home and 3 on the road.
The Cardinals really could go 20-5 in a 25-game stretch, and nobody would be surprised because their schedule is pretty easy. I know the Brewers have to play the Dodgers like 7 times in the next couple weeks.
Yep, they get Tampa Bay today and tomorrow. Then it's the 3 with St. Louis. Then it's 4 at home with the Dodgers. Then it's at Wrigley for 3. Then it's at Los Angeles for 3. Then it's the Cubs and the Pirates at home. Then it's the Diamondbacks and the Rockies on the road.
Yeah.
But
I mean, those are manageable, but
these next couple of weeks are going to be tough for them with the Dodgers and the Cardinals.
Even Tampa. I mean, we've roasted Tampa for being injured to hell and back, but you look at the standings, Tampa's got the same record as Milwaukee.
True.
Like, there's no guarantee that Milwaukee's going to actually sweep the series or even win the series. I think Tampa could give them a run for their money if you expect a bunch of low-scoring 3-2 games.
Yep.
So, we'll see.
And then the last one on there is the Padres. I know we just talked about how they struggled yesterday. They got to break out sooner or later. Musgrove's got to come out of this funk. You know, he hasn't won in his last 7 starts. He's 0-5 in that stretch.
Well, he won. The team didn't win because he got the massive extension.
True. He didn't win in the W column in the standings. But, you know, he's 0-5 in that stretch. You know, he hasn't pitched great. He gave up 6 against the Phillies. He gave up 5 against the Rockies at Coors. He gave up 4 to the Mets. He gave up 6 to the Rockies at Petco in his last start. I just don't trust Alex Cobb. I don't trust the Giants. I mean, they got by with 1 run yesterday. They blew opportunities to score a whole bunch more runs.
They had a guy thrown out at the plate.
Yeah, they bounced into a couple double plays. Cobb has given up,
He's not been good.
Yeah, he's not great. I know he turned in a quality start against the Dodgers, but I don't trust him. I'll lean towards Musgrove. Because if you look, Cobb's got a 6.03 ERA on the road this year.
Yeah, I think if I was going to play this, I wouldn't take the money line because I do have question marks.
For an offensive bonanza here from San Diego. They got to break out.
I was looking for an over, either team total, full game, but the total is going to be low because it's Petco. But I don't exactly trust either pitcher here. I like the first 5 over, the full game over. I think you'll see runs here. Now the Padres could win, but I don't want to lay 170 with Musgrove's current form. True. I think I'd rather just take an over.
Now, Don's asking, what do you think about the first 5 under 4 at Wrigley today? It's Espino going against Stroman, the wind blowing in from left center, but it's only about 5 miles an hour.
I think I still like the under. I said last start that Stroman was going to be one of the most underrated under pitchers moving forward because Chicago's offense, besides Contreras occasionally hitting a homer, is not exactly great. I know they had 6 runs yesterday. Espino's been okay. Like, you look at his record, and he's 0-4, but his ERA is 4.2, which is actually not bad for Washington's pitching staff.
This is true.
I really don't mind the first 5 under there because Stroman's been really good since coming off the IL.
Yeah, he has pitched well. I mean, he faded in the 7th in that game against the Cardinals.
They kept him in for a bit too long.
Yeah, but before that, he was mowing him down. And in his start since coming off the IL, 4 innings, gave up no runs against the Dodgers. 4 1/3 gave up 1 run against the Mets. 6 innings gave up a run to the Phillies. 6 innings of shutout ball against the Giants, and then he went 6 2/3 and gave up 3 to the Cardinals. So He's only given up 5 runs in 5 starts since coming off the shelf.
I'd look at the first 5 under. Stroman's been pitching well, and Espino is not great, but he's also not totally awful.
And Ryan wants to know, do you like Oakland? It's Kaprelian against Ohtani.
I like the under in that one.
Especially after yesterday's game.
I was going to say, we leaned the under in yesterday's game, too. The Nerfy didn't get there, unfortunately, but the game ended 1-0. Ohtani has been pitching okay lately, giving up a few more runs, but he's still pitching relatively well. And Kaprelian, if you want to look at his overall numbers, they are pretty mediocre. However, if you want to look at his recent performances, he's been good. He's given up less than 2 runs in each of the last 3 starts. And Oakland's also won each of his last 4 starts. So he's actually been getting some support.
Yeah, to your point, it's actually 5 of his last 6 starts. He's given up 1 run or less.
Yeah, so I like the under there. Ohtani should pitch well. We know that with Trout being injured with the back, he is one of the only pulses this offense has. And I got to go with the under because Kaprelian's actually been pretty good.
Now, that's why I stayed away from this game, because I looked at it, I said, the Angels are kind of overvalued here. The fact that
they're 100% overvalued. If I was going to take a side, I'd pick Oakland because the Angels have also lost Ohtani's last couple starts.
Yep, including one to Kaprelian.
Yeah, so I'd take Oakland on the money line if I was going to take a side. Maybe you could even parlay Oakland money line with the under. I think there's one recipe for this game. I don't think Ohtani's going to get shelled by Oakland, but I think Kaprelian's going to pitch well, and then you might have a battle of bullpens in there. But I think Oakland will probably win this game 3-2, 3-1. Like, Los Angeles can't hit.
Yeah. And you can get the A's anywhere between plus 150 and plus 165, depending on where you look. Win
good value
at 165. The total is only 6.5.
Yeah.
But that just shows you how bad these teams are when it comes to, hitting.
I said 4-2. I said 3-2. Do I see one team getting to 5 in this game? No.
Not unless the Angels hit, 5 solo homers.
I'm just saying, I don't see that. I think both pitchers are good enough that warrants a low total. And I'm assuming the wind's blowing in because it's 6.5 in Oakland.
Let's take a look here. Where'd it go?
Like, I know Ohtani's good, but 6.5, I got to assume the wind's blowing in.
It looks like it's blowing towards the right field corner.
Okay.
which is a weird
Correction.
Yeah, at about 11 miles an hour.
Okay, well, according to Ballpark Pal, Oakland Coliseum, negative 15% home runs.
I see that -7 on runs per game or
Yeah,
runs scored.
Yeah, so
And they're basically killing everything according to if you look at the percentages for home runs, it's down across the board.
In other words, Ballpark Pal has Coliseum being the most pitcher-friendly ballpark tonight.
Yep.
Let's put it that way. So I'm going with the under.
I would agree with Scott.
Yep.
Lex
are you a big Ballpark Pal guy?
Oh yeah, I keep it up most days. I told Steen about
Yeah.
it. Lex says Charlie Morton to record a win plus 125.
It's not bad.
You just have to hope that the bullpen doesn't come in and screw him over like they've done several times.
I guess my question there, Lex, if you want to take him to record a win, why wouldn't you just rather take first 5 run line? Because you're inheriting Atlanta's bullpen for like 30 cents. But if you just take him first 5 like run line, unless Morton pitches like 7 innings, then they end up winning in the 7th. But I think you understand my point. If you want to take Morton to record a win, they're more likely than not going to have a lead after 5. We agree on that?
True.
So, I don't know. It's an option.
Brian says, no matter how good the matchup looks, I will not place a bet on the Rays or Brewers, which is funny because I actually have that game in this slide.
Wow.
Actually, I didn't mean to put the Angels up there. I had Oakland, and I meant to switch it after I looked at it. So it's supposed to be Oakland plus 165 and the reverse run line.
So are the money line and run line prices based on the Angels or based on Oakland?
No, that was based on the Angels. I forgot to get it on my screen because I still have it saved in PowerPoint on my computer.
It's fine. So ignore the Angels where you like Oakland.
Yeah, because I just can't. That's like you said. I can't trust them to do anything. It's the reverse run line. If for the A's to win by 2, but minus 1.5 is plus 310.
Okay.
So some healthy numbers there.
That's not bad.
The Dodgers we talked about. I'm going to take the Guardians. Bieber over Tyler Alexander. I just can't trust the Tigers. They strike out a lot. They don't make a ton of contact. They got a lot of young dudes.
I guess the only concerning thing, if you were making up excuses, would be that the Tigers have seen Bieber several times this year.
Yeah, 3.
So maybe they'll perform well, but they can't perform well against anybody. So I got to like the Guardians as well. Guardians will give them props, by the way. Youngest team in baseball, and they've actually been pretty good.
And the Rays, this is me fading the Brewers because, like Scott and I just talked about, they don't hit.
Well, it's a great price. I mean, when we're talking about fading, if you want to fade Milwaukee at plus 151, and yes, Milwaukee's at home, they just lost a home series to the Reds. Like it's a good price. It's a good value play at 151.
Yeah, I know it's Jimmy Yacobonis, and you're like, who the hell is that? Well, he's a guy that is got from Miami.
What's Peralta?
He'll probably be the opener.
Peralta's what? Had one outing since he came back off the IL.
Yeah,
I mean,
and that's the other thing too is you don't know what to expect from that. So just to update what those numbers should be, real quick, if we punch those in, it would be. Let's see, minus 220, minus 185, 151. That would make, if you were to bet the money lines on those, the return would be 1334. And then if you did the run lines, minus 103.
It's going to be a big price.
Yeah.
Wait, when you say run line, are you talking about plus 1.5 or minus 1.5 alternative for Oakland? I'm assuming you mean plus. You're doing minus 1.5.
The minus 1.5 is plus 310.
Yeah, no. So I'm saying when you do the calculation for the payout on run line bets.
Oh no, I do it off the minus. If I did it off the plus, it would be a lot different.
Yeah, okay. That's why I was curious.
Yeah, because plus 1.5 is minus 120.
Yeah, that's why I was asking.
Yeah. So then 220. So if you were to bet the run lines, 43.90.
That's not bad.
Can't complain about that.
Yep.
And now we'll go to the shot in the dark. Oh, let's see. Lex said Ahmed Rosario to score a run for Cleveland minus 110. He said he really wants to take the RBI prop, but he thinks they'll try to walk him.
Was one of their better hitters. I know that
He says try because you might hit a bad pitch.
Yeah, he might. Rosario is not afraid to swing at a bunch of questionable pitches. Lindor, of course, left several years ago, and the only person left from those other teams was Reyes, and they got rid of him, and he signed with your team. He's on the Cubs now.
That. We'll see what he does there.
So
Cleveland, Ramirez is still there.
I was going to say Ramirez is obvious. I didn't mention him because he's obvious, but the point is you're looking at all the other guys who used to be, consistent players there. Santana's not. They really don't have anybody left besides Ramirez. And you look at the rest of the lineup. They don't strike out much, but do they have a lot of talent on the rest of that lineup? Rosario's been their second best hitter this year.
Yeah, him or me. I guess you might want to say you might be able to make a case for somebody like Josh Naylor or somebody like that.
Yeah, Naylor's had a big month or two, but Naylor's a good point. So Rosario, Naylor, somewhere 2 and 3.
But other than that, yeah, you're right. There's not a whole lot to write home about. You look at the lineup, and it's kind of like when they're sitting there in Major League going, Mitchell Friedman?
Yeah.
I mean,
we know Ramirez is great. I mean, that's a given. We're talking about the other guys.
Yeah, I mean, Jimenez has been decent.
Okay.
Or Jimenez, however you pronounce it.
No, I'm just okay. Cool. Like we're talking about Jimenez. Like that's the state. That's the current state of this.
Yeah, that's the state of the Guardians.
Yep.
All right, let's go to the shot in the dark, Scott. We'll talk about. Can you believe you can still get Austin Riley at -112?
No, against Rich Hill with the Green Monster. That's a ridiculous price.
Yeah, do you know what Riley's splits are against left-handed pitching? He's hitting 362.
I was going to guess 340.
Yeah, 9 homers, 12 doubles, and a triple. His OPS against left-handed pitching, 1.190.
Yeah. By the way, I was going to ask you, since it's the second player listed in the shot in the dark, was there a reason why you didn't take the Mets on the run line?
Just because it wasn't it still a fairly high number on their run line?
I think now it was 155. It was my play that I had 135 last night. I was just curious if there was a reason why you didn't mention it.
I would have mentioned it, but then if people bitch enough that when we put up guys that are -160 or 170, nobody wants to bet 155 on a run line because they'll be like, oh yeah, look, they only won 4-3. But yeah,
I took it as my play today.
At 135, that's got a little more value.
Yeah,
but yeah, I see it as 155 at MGM. I figured the Mets, Mike Minor is horrible.
Carrasco's been good for the last month.
Yeah. The one concern is, will Carrasco hit that wall? Because like we said in his last start, he hasn't pitched a ton of innings the last few years.
Yeah, it's a concern, but he's against the Reds, so I'm hoping that kind of balances it out. By the way, shout out to the Reds. Started the year 3-22, and they're in third place in the NL Central. Good for them.
Yep,
shout out to them.
They're 6-1-2 in their last 9 series.
Since the terrible start, they're a 500 baseball team. So
that's saying that.
Yeah, by the way, Matt, to answer your question, Back to the Window hasn't been around in like several weeks. Steen's working on a project which should go public in a couple weeks.
Yeah, 2, 3, maybe 4
so
weeks.
He's been busy, but yes, as of right now, the Back to the Window show has been pushed to the back burner.
So now Reichel works with me.
Yep. Represent.
And Steen pops by once in a while when he's not day drinking.
He tells us about advertisements on TV in the comment section.
Or he gets mad about the Royals team or about the Chiefs team total.
Yep. But anyway, you like Alonso, of course, because he's against Minor, and Alonso's been hitting the ball very well for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, same with Chapman. Chapman homered yesterday. Why not do it again?
Yep.
Yordan Alvarez. Plus money. I know it's Martin Perez.
I mean, I get Perez is good, but when you're taking arguably the second best hitter in the American League, Yordan's been that good this year when healthy. Yeah, it's a hell of a price.
Yeah, Freddie Freeman, even money on 2 bags. I think he can get it off Ryan, especially at Chavez Ravine. Rhys Hoskins, another guy that's been hitting fairly well for the Phillies. Of course, everybody hit Washington's pitching pretty well over the weekend.
Has it been in the first inning of every game, or is that only the first 3?
I think it was in the first inning of all of them.
It was all of them? I know that he hit a homer in the first. He was the first Philly ever to hit a home run in the first inning in 3 straight games. I'm not sure if the fourth one was included or not.
Yeah, I'll have to double check. Yeah, Gil said he's hot homered in 4 straight. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you do worse.
Yeah, you can.
Scott, I don't know what you think of this one. I'm going to take Luis Castillo. I just don't trust Cole after he got roughed up in his last start. After I picked him and said he was going to win. Do you think that the Yankees used up all their situational hitting yesterday?
They looked better, but I don't trust Cole. Like, I get the idea of Cole where you're paying the guy this much money and he's on the Yankees, so he has to be favored in all of these games. But Castillo outpitched him like crazy last time out. Now the Yankees offense has been better the last 2 days, scored 9+ runs in each of the last 2 games, but Castillo's really good. And Cole, until he shows something, I'm concerned. And they maybe will switch catchers. Higashioka was his personal catcher. He's been awful with him this year. They should use Trevino back there and see what happens, but we'll see.
Yeah, Trevino's been good. He's been a nice surprise.
I'm saying even the pitching numbers. Cole's pitching numbers are significantly better with Trevino back there. So we'll see if they switch things up. But if Higashioka is catching again, I would fade Cole because he's been awful with Higashioka this season.
Do you think is there any rhyme or reason to that, or you just think that they're not connecting?
They're just not connecting. It appears that way. Last couple of years they were connecting because he was the personal catcher. I don't think it has to do with the pitch com button system, but I don't know.
And Gil pointed out that it was the first 3 homers for Hoskins.
Okay.
His homer in the other game was in the 3rd inning. So thanks for getting that out there, Gil.
Thanks.
Always good to get the inside scoop on what's going on. And we got some strikeout props there. Manoah over 5.5 strikeouts.
He's going to give you 6 or 7. So
yeah, Ohtani. I was going to looking at it at 7.5, but I didn't want to pay minus 150 or whatever it was. We know that he can strike guys out. He's been out. Oakland is not a good hitting lineup. You look at Ohtani lately at his strikeout numbers, and
he's really not going much length for Ohtani standards, but he's going well over the strikeouts anyway.
Yeah, fan 29 over 18 innings in his last 3 starts.
Yeah.
So even if he goes 6, if he punches out 1 or 3 dudes every 2 innings, there you go.
Yeah.
And then we've got Bieber. We talk about a team that likes to generate energy or wind energy. Any lineup that's got Javier Baez in the middle of it, and I love El Mago. He was a great player when he was in Chicago. But you could throw the ball and have it bounce 6 times before it gets to the plate, and he'll swing at it anyway.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can rack up strikeouts against this Detroit team.
Yeah, you could.
So there you go. That sums everything up. Anything you want to add, Scott?
Not really. Looking forward to the baseball card. Are you looking forward to any particular games today, or you're just looking for all your bets to hit and nothing else?
Well, I mean, everybody wants their bets to hit. I mean, that's not why.
That's a given. I'm saying, are you still actively rooting for the Cubs to win games every day, or are you just hoping to see the younger guys? What's the philosophy for a fan of a tanking team right now?
Well, I mean, you still want to see them win, but I mean, you're going to see a lot. They've been playing younger guys a ton. I mean, you've seen Morel has played a lot this season.
That's why I can't believe the Nationals are still using Anibal Sanchez. Like, you should be using the younger guys. I don't know what you're missing.
Yeah, you got they played him. They played Nelson Velasquez.
Okay, Velasquez isn't bad.
Yeah, so I mean, and then I want to see some more of the pitchers come up. Alzolay has not stayed healthy, which of course has been an ongoing issue, and he's done for the year.
I'm trying to remember who else. There's a player in Chicago that I actually like as a youngster. Marmol? Is Marmol his name?
Marmol.
Is it Marmol? I'm trying to remember what his name was.
How long ago was this?
Oh, is this year? Yeah, he might be injured. I'm
sure
trying to remember.
Morel?
Yeah, it could be.
He plays third.
Yes, it could be. Yeah.
Yeah, he homered last night.
Point is, he's an energy guy.
Yeah, he's played pretty well for a rookie. He had a rough stretch for a while there, but
yeah, that's who I was thinking of. I was thinking of Morel, who's been okay. He's batting .263, but I mean, if you watch him, he plays with a lot of energy.
Yeah,
I
got
think he's pretty
27
good.
extra base hits. Can't go wrong with that. Stole 9 bags. Still
Yeah,
strikes out a lot, but who the hell doesn't these days?
I think Mormel was the manager of the Cardinals. I think I was flipping them, but
Yep, and you could have also been talking about Carlos Marmol, the former Cubs closer, who,
I could have, yeah. But no, I was talking about Morrill, who's actually been solid. Or
yeah, he's been
Morrell.
pretty decent.
Yeah. So you got some young talent there. So we'll see what happens moving forward.
And you still got Pete Crow Armstrong and stuff down in the minors. They got him in the Baez trade last year. He'll probably be up in September if he doesn't come up next year. Brennan Davis is still down there in the minors.
Maybe Madrigal won't suck next year.
God can only hope.
Maybe.
He can stay healthy. Nico Horner's been good,
Yeah, I mean your team's gonna be bad for a while, but you got some young pieces in there.
Now, they announced yesterday that Jason Hayward won't be back next season, so that's a plus.
I mean, they should have got rid of him 4 years ago, but the contract was too big of an albatross.
Yeah, it's kind of like in Major League with Jake Taylor. Should have had him 4 years ago.
All I know is that you won a ring with him, so there's that. But the Hayward contract has been one of the most underratedly bad contracts in sports for the past decade.
True.
It's really bad.
I mean, the Dexter Fowler deal that he signed with St. Louis wasn't a whole lot better after that season.
That wasn't good either, but Hayward got paid a bunch of money for a lot of years, and he wasn't good for any of those years, or maybe one of the years. But either way, I think it's time to wrap up the show.
Real quick, Nathan wants to know, should he bet the Padres on the run line?
I'm not doing it. I don't want to bet the run line with Musgrove. I'd rather go with an over. I'd look for a total in that game.
Yeah, what's the total on that? Was it 7.5? Was it?
I could assume it's 7.5 or 8 because Petco is always going to be pitcher friendly. So you're going to look at. I mean, the wind. It's basically neutral, so the wind's not going to play much of a factor.
Yeah, 7.5. You can get it over 7.5 at even money pretty much everywhere.
I'll take the over with Musgrove and Cobb. I'll take the over 7.5.
Cobb salad with his 603 road run average.
But either way, that's going to do it. We'll see you all again tomorrow for the Just Parlays show. But thanks to all of you for stopping by and commenting. Always fun to address any questions you guys have. And let's get out there and let's cash some bets. But before we officially wrap up, I do have to talk about our sponsor, BetMGM. They have a great deal for you for first-time users of their app or website. Get a risk-free bet of up to $1,000. All the information is in the show box. Check the age limits, and as always, bet responsibly. But until next time, good luck to all of you and all your bets. Bye, everyone.